The Sagrada Familia is Barcelona's most famous landmark. The brainchild of Spanish architect Antoni Gaudí, it's been under construction for 128 years. A never-ending story, as some have dubbed it. Jordi Bonet has headed up building work for the past quarter century.
Without Gaudí, we would never be able to plan all this. The Sagrada Familia also has a very special spirit.
En la Sagrada Familia hay un espíritu.
This is what the church could look like once complete, with 18 towers and 4 facades. Gaudí designed many buildings, but Sagrada Familia was his life's work. He spent 43 years working on it, until he was run over by a tram in 1926 and died. Since then, architects from all over the world have come to work on the church. The Sagrada Familia Foundation collects money for the building work. Some 20 million euros are raised each year.
Gaudí dejó tantos elementos bien acabados.
It's easier to follow Gaudí than it looks. He left behind so many elements that have been well thought through. That's why we, as his followers, can understand him more easily than you'd think.
Gaudí was an intuitive architect. His ideas often developed while he worked. But there is still an underlying system to the church. It's 90 meters long and divided by columns set 7.5 meters apart. The highest tower will be 170 meters high once complete, making Sagrada Familia the second highest building in Barcelona. Gaudí didn't leave any building plans for his successors. He worked with plaster models, but most of the models were destroyed during the Spanish Civil War in the 1930s. So the remnants are now being painstakingly reconstructed in the basement of the church. Around 40 architects are working with the models to plan the future elements of Sagrada Familia. They see it as a sacred duty to continue the work. But can today's architects really do justice to Gaudí's legacy?
That's difficult to judge. I do everything in my power, and all those involved in the building likewise seek to do their best. And after all, many cathedrals were built over several centuries, and generally we admire that about them.
But opinions are divided as to whether the church should be completed. In the 1950s, famous architects like Germany's Walter Gropius and Le Corbusier of France signed a petition calling for the work to be stopped. Then last year, local representatives from the area set up a foundation called Red Alarm for Gaudí.
It has nothing to do with Gaudí, and there's no way of knowing what's from him and what isn't. They act as though everything is from Gaudí. All the non-genuine parts should be removed and just the genuine Gaudí left to stand.
Despite its unfinished state, or perhaps because of it even, the Sagrada Familia is one of Barcelona's top tourist attractions. Every year, around 2.5 million people flock to the church in the center of the city. 80% of the construction budget comes from entry fees.
It's one of the wonderful things that I see in my life. It's amazing.
I think Gaudí was mad. It's very impressive.
We made a deal that if it finishes and we are 80 maybe, we will be back to see it completely.
The church is due to be consecrated by Pope Benedict when he visits Spain in November. As to the estimated completion date, no one knows whether it will be finished by the 100th anniversary of Gaudí's death in 2026. But then, what's a few more years after all this time?